Good morning, beautiful people. It's cold outside and I'm not doing well with this cold, but we're going to go through and start off our Module 6 ratios unit with representing ratios and rates. This is from your textbook, starting at about page 145, where it's going over the "Are you ready?" and then the list of vocabulary words, but we're going to start on page 149. When we talk about ratios, basically we're just using a ratio to compare two quantities. And the numbers of a ratio are called terms. When you look at writing ratios, that ratio is a comparison of two quantities, like stars to moons. And it can be written several ways. I'm going to skip over and cheat ahead a little bit. When you write ratios, ratio can be written several different ways. You could say 5 dogs to 3 cats using the word two. You could say 5 to 3. This colon in between is the same thing as 5 to 3, or you can express it as a fraction with 5 over 3. The top number is the first number, the bottom number in the fraction is the second number. A ratio can compare a part to a part to a whole, or a whole to a part. Now, I always label what we're doing just so that I can tell and know which one is represented, and I can keep it straight in our relationships that we're working on. If you look at a ratio and you think about the different parts of a ratio, here, I think we can see this. On page 150, you see that we have a video collection. It's comprised of these different types of videos. If you look at a part to part, if we're going to do comedies to drama, comedies are going to go first, and we have 8 comedies. Dramas will be second 3. So it's going to be represented as 8 to 3 with the colon, or 8 over 3, or 8 comedies to 3 dramas. And that can work with any of them, but you need to make sure that when we do this, that you label the parts that go with it. If we look at the relationship between the drama videos and the science fiction videos, I always look right here. Science fiction is 1, dramas is 3, but we're starting with dramas. You go with what's first. We have 3 dramas to every 1 sci-fi, science fiction. I'm going to abbreviate that. When we talk about the relationship between those, for every 3 dramas, you would have 1 sci-fi. So that's all that means. For every 3 dramas, he has 1 sci-fi, which means if he had 6 dramas, he would have 2. So if you look at the relationship between all of those, you could do it proportionally. If we did it as a fraction, you could say 3 dramas for every 1 sci-fi. If we doubled that, we would have 6 dramas for every 2. If we did 3, it would be 9 dramas for every 3 sci-fi, and so on. So here's our dramas, here's our sci-fi, and you can see how that continues on, and they're all proportionate. Look at number 4. The ratio of floor seats in a balcony in a theater is 20 to 1. Floor seats to balcony. That means you have 20 floor seats for every 1 balcony seat, actually. Does this theater have more floor seats or more balcony seats? Well, definitely more on the floor, because for every 20, you have 1 in the balcony. So if I had 40 on the floor, I would have 2 in the balcony, and likewise. So the balcony is very limited in its seating. Okay. Okay, we are not going to do the your turn with the party mix right now because I want to go ahead and go through and talk about the vocabulary and the main things that we're dealing with. We can come back and you can do that on your own. Equivalent ratios are ratios that name the same comparison. You can find equivalent ratios by using a table or by multiplying or dividing both terms of a ratio by the same number. So the equivalent ratios have a multiplicative relationship. Like when we were doing equivalent fractions, we talked about that multiplicative value. That's where whatever you do to the top, you do the same to the bottom. So for the ratio of 2/7, if I multiply both the top and the bottom by 2, I get 4/14. And actually that can be reduced to 2/7 if we divide the top and the bottom by the same multiplicative value. The same is true for 8/24. It can be reduced to 2/6 or 2/6 by dividing both the top and the bottom by 4. A ratio with terms that have no common factor is said to be in simplest form. Just like we were talking about simplifying fractions, you can do the same with ratios. If we look at the example with the punch, make 5 cups of punch by mixing 3 cups of cranberry juice with 2 cups of apple juice. So that means for every 3 cranberry, you're going to have 2 apple juice, and you can make the table going across by taking that and multiplying each one by 1 more to get the equivalent ratio. So 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12, and 2 times 4 is 8. And we could keep going. You could do 6. 6 times 3 is 18, and 6 times 2 is 12. Or you could do 100. 3 times 100 is 300. 2 times 100 is 200. All of these are equivalent ratios. When you look at the original ratio, you will need to take that and multiply both the top and the bottom item, or whatever the thing is in the relationship, times the same multiplicative value to have it in the same proportions. Why am I coughing? Okay. And remember, you would simplify those as well. Now, in here, writing the write 3 ratios equivalent to the given ratio. If I have 8 to 10, I could actually simplify that because 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. I could triple it. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 10 is 30. And all of these ratios can be reduced to that. Or I could do 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 10 is 70. So it's the same. And the same would be true for the 5 halves. Now, notice that that looks like an improper fraction, but it is not. The thing that you have to keep in mind is these are representing a relationship between 2 quantities or 2 items. It's treated like a fraction with equivalences, but we don't write that as a mixed number. So just like that is in its simplest form, 5 to 2, it could be 5 cats to 2 dogs. You could make 3 ratios that are equivalent, multiply it by 2, would be 10 to 4. By 3, 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 3 is 6. By 4, 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 4 is 8. And you could keep going however many. It's just asking you for 3. But any 3 would be equivalent to that. Now, in our examples and things that we have for our book practice, outlined in our plans are some of the problems from the guided practice. You're going to do problems 11 through 16. And you'll stop at 16. And then we'll do the online interactive for practice. So if you look at these,